All right, let's get it right into it. So, something I've recognized recently is just if you're having issues or you're going through something, the easiest way to overcome those obstacles is really just to raise your standards. If you're struggling to put on muscle, if you're struggling to lose weight, if you're not at your desired outcomes, ultimately that's because your standards are just too low. See, I'm recognizing now more than ever how important it is to have high standards because the higher standards, the more you keep commitments to yourself. People that keep commitments to themselves, they can do difficult things, they seek self improvement, and they can delay gratification. Someone with those characteristics is a lot more likely to get to a goal. And life is about, it's all about probabilities, about chances, because not everything's guaranteed. So, how do you increase your odds? You do these things, you do these difficult things. The only way to do that is to raise your standard. That's why your environment is so important. And it's almost, I'm not going to say cruel, but it is something you have to decide. Where if the people around you aren't helping you be the best version of yourself, you have to cut them off like scissors, literally, because they will hold you down. And it's hard when it's family, it could be a brother, a very good friend, but if they conflict with your standards, they have to be cut off. That's why it's a canned event when your circle gets smaller. I probably got to make a whole video on that. Just signs that you're on the journey, like you're actually walking through the journey. Because when you're walking through it genuinely, these things are going to happen. Your circle is going to get smaller. Your standards go up, your circle gets smaller. Because what took me a while to understand was, yeah, you going out that once a week and kind of jumping off your diet, that was causing a lot more damage. Because I see now, I know everything is going to change with this. As you get to a certain point where you just know, okay, you're taking this serious, genuinely now, because the fact that I've just started to cut and it's going this well. I'm like, this is a good sign. Boom, 2 inches off the waist in about 4 or 5 weeks. This is good. My standards are only going to go up and up. Excuse me, as I continue to walk on this path, because I see now you have to have really high standards. If you're out of shape, your standards are just too low, where you eat primarily for taste, you eat for dopamine hits, you eat for pleasure. People that have really high standards, they don't do those things. And another thing you have to recognize too is even your friends, because if you're listening to this, you're probably the most locked in person that you know. So when you're listening to other people and they're not even walking the path that you're going through, everything they say you can't really believe because they're not going where you're trying to go and they're not at the point that you want to get to. It's not to invalidate what they're saying, but there's a unique perspective when you actually go through this process. You have to go through it. See, anyone that's telling you the gym is not that serious, you gotta live in balance, moderation. Those people, they're not inspiring, they're not motivating. You don't want to be like them. That's why they're saying those things because they haven't actually gone through the hard process of self improvement. That's another thing too. When you raise your standards, you just start to become more objective of your reality, but the people around you. You don't care what they're saying. You look at them and you feel them because anyone that keeps commitments to themselves, they're gonna radiate it. You can't. It's not something you can fake. That's why, especially now, it's a lot more important that you're in shape, you're lean, than $1 million because this is something you can only get through delayed gratification. There's no way to buy it. You have to just put in the work and go through the process, jump through the hoops. You just have to do it. There's no way to skip that part. I believe that's why the gym, nutrition, that stuff is the most important thing. That's your base. And you need a good base. Because at the end of the day, that's the bare minimum. you should be eating for fuel. You should be working out consistently because all the benefits of muscle, your hormones, mental health, all that stuff. You should metabolism. You should be working out regardless. So anyone that tells you it's not that important, because that's the thing. Anyone that you listen to that actually works out, takes nutrition, takes all this stuff seriously, they're telling you like, yeah, like that stuff is bad for you. Smoking is bad for you. Alcohol is bad for you. The people that are justifying it are overweight, they don't work out, and they don't take their health seriously. And it took me a while because there are people in my circle that were trying to justify those negative behaviors. But looking back, I'm thinking, yeah, no, I can't be around that person because people that are really on their purpose, that are intentional, they're not justifying these negative habits. They're going to tell you, yeah, do not do that shit. Don't do it. If you're doing it, you're running from something or you're literally lowering your vibration. But your standards get so high, you become cognizant of that. So people around you that do those things, you understand now, yeah, I can't do that. Like I refuse to do that. I'm not gonna lower my standards again. I'm not gonna hang out with people that don't inspire, don't motivate, and I don't want to be like ultimately. Which is why specifically when you're on this path, the most important person, even more than family in some cases, because at the end of the day, the people that are gonna help increase your vibration are the most important. And that's usually, I'm sorry guys now, that's not your family. And that might sound a little, it's not as fucked up. Of course you love your family, you love your friends, but the people you really need to cherish and really take care of are the ones that help increase your vibration. Because that's how you're gonna take care of your family and your friends, is by interacting with that person. Because you guys are gonna push each other. Iron sharpens iron. So your ability to actually serve others, fulfill your purpose, help part of your family, it's going to come by attracting people that vibrate higher or, at the level that you're at currently. So if you have anyone in your circle that genuinely encourages, self-improvement, they invite you to work out, definitely do not lose hold of that person. Because you go on this path long enough, you're going to see. When I tell you guys, most people are not locked in. They're not locked in. I'm locked in now, but I wasn't always locked in, even though I was doing all the correct things. But you have to be very, very intentional. If you're not, and this is every day, including weekends, if you're not hitting your protein goal, if you're eating terrible foods, if you're not working out, you have to be doing all those things consistently. No inflammatory foods, no goofy foods, none of that stuff. Hitting your protein goal every day, getting your steps in, weightlifting at least 3 days a week, up to 6 between there, protecting your frequency. You have to do these things every day, not when you feel like it, not when you're bored, every single day. Not when you feel like it, every single day. And you have to do that for a really long time. And it takes you a while to get content with that. But once you're okay with that, yeah, you're gonna be very alone, but you're gonna be okay with it because this is the correct choice. Those people did not align with the standards I have for myself and the standards I want to get to. So I can't interact with them. It's nothing against them, but they don't want to badly as you. Or you have, and this is another thing too, you're gonna learn. You can't save everyone. You can't have higher standards for someone than they have for themselves. Ultimately, it has to be up to them. So you really just have to make sure you're protecting your frequency, your vibration. You maintain, uphold your standards, and keep the commitments to yourself. Ultimately, that's the most important thing. If you care more about someone's health than they do, it's honestly pointless. Don't even waste the time. And to the outside people or the people that they're not doing these things, they're not on the self-improvement journey. You'll see egotistical, selfish, all these things, but I guess one could consider it those things, but it's just a requirement of the journey. You have to be selfish with your time, with your energy, because for me to really interact with someone now, you just can't be a bot. You have to have something of value, or just not be low vibrational. But if all you want to do is smoke, drink, do dumb shit, I just don't want to be around that because, at least me personally, the goal is not to be average. So the only way I'm going to do that is I have to do things that other people aren't willing to do consistently. for long periods of time. That's why health is so important, because this is how you start to separate yourself from everyone else. Because anyone that tells you this stuff isn't important, again, they don't do it. They don't work out, they don't eat healthy. They don't know. But the more you learn, the more you do this, you recognize that, yeah, like this is how you really sharpen yourself, really start to separate yourself. Because think about it. How many people are 10% body fat? How many people can work out, consistently for a decade, 2, 3, even 4 years? It's very few. But it's not really more so about that specific action. It's just the vibration and the standards you have for yourself to be able to do that. It's gonna bleed into other aspects, relationships, your business, and that's what you want. Because at the end of the day, you don't get what you want. You get what you attract, or what from a consequence of your vibration and your energy. So you have to focus on maintaining and increasing that all the time. And the biggest thing is going to be the people around you. And this is why I'm always telling you guys, you have to get on SR, because SR is probably the greatest amplifier. The people I've outgrown because of SR, it's honestly shocking. That's why I'm at the Cannes event. It's gonna come, but I can definitely say SR because that shit. I'm still trying to understand it, but it gives you the ability to sense things and like feel people out in ways that I didn't think was possible. It still doesn't make a lot of sense, but the way I always explain it is, if anyone's seen One Piece, it's basically hockey. It's observation hockey, literally. That shit's very real. I'm not making this up. You just know. If I say something, I'll know if someone genuinely understands it. Long before I see what their actions, you feel it. You just know. You know the energy's off. And I think it's intuitive too, because you'll know, oh, this person is like me, almost subconsciously. It's so hard to explain, but shit's very real. But you vibrate high enough, you're gonna start manifesting other people like that. Ultimately, that's the goal. Because when you're around, I'm telling you guys, the biggest change for me was just like actually interacting with people that are where I want to be. Just knowing that, oh, there are people like me. Oh, they like anime. Oh, they're black niggas, but they care about their health. They work out. It's still honestly the greatest blessing, I would say. And this is another thing too. There's things, good things to start happening to you the higher you vibrate. My expenses are going down. I have this very like-minded community that I'm blessed to be a part of now. Just a bunch of other locked-in niggas, and they do this shit every day, and they show proof that they're doing it. Honestly, fantastic. But you vibrate high enough, good things just start to happen to you. Even things that you might think are bad. You cut people off, and then boom, your life's just starting to get better. And it's not even about religion or all that stuff, but God, the universe, Allah, Krishna, whatever force or deity you might believe in. When you're willing to sacrifice things and make tough choices, you will ultimately get rewarded. Because the more alone you're able to actually, you start to master yourself. You master your thoughts, your anxiety, your fears. These things exist still, of course, but they have less of a hold on you. But these are things that are only going to make sense when you just have to walk this path, and you have to walk it. I mean, live for life. It's self-improvement, but it's a spiritual journey. That's why I'm always saying, like, all roads are going to lead to this. It might be when you're 19, when you're 40, 50, but eventually there's gonna come a day where you recognize, oh, like, health is actually important. It's not okay to be fat. Now, hopefully you recognize that before, you're diabetic with a 45-inch waist and a BMI that's, 50 plus, but the sooner, the better. Because there's going to come a day where you kind of just get fed up. And you're like, you know what, fuck this shit. Like, I'm tired of it. You want to take control, stop being reactive to your environment, start creating, start building. But it really starts in your mind. That's why you have to honestly ignore reality, and there's something that's crazy. My mentors, they're saying, oh, if you're in debt, the best thing you can do is, funny enough, get in shape, like actually get lean. And that sounds dumb, but when you think about it, someone that's incredibly lean has such a mastery over what they eat. They can delay gratification for an action that is required every day. That person is going to be perfectly equipped to get out of debt, to leave a toxic relationship, to improve their family, fix broken relationships. They're going to have all the tools because they've done something that's much more difficult. That's the biggest thing about the diet. I'd say the diet and SR, because if you can do those two things, there's nothing else you can't do, because even millionaires, some billionaires, they can't do those two things. So if you can do that, in the back of your mind, you know, okay, this is something I could do, and I know 99% of the population can't do. And it's not an ego thing. You're just, I mean, again, you know, it's objective. If you're like 12, 10% body fat or really in shape, you know objectively, yeah, okay, my standards are just high, a lot higher than the average person. And if you want to not be average, that's a good thing. That's what you want. That's why you have to keep raising your standards. You just have to keep doing it. But the only way you're going to raise your standards is you just have to stay on the journey, surround yourself with like minded people. Because I'm telling you guys, when you meet someone that is very intentional, they're in shape, they work out, they do all the correct things, and they tell you that they've worked double the hours that you're working and they've been consistent for years, you recognize there's no excuses. But you also recognize everything you're going through, like everyone's got debt, credit card debt, all these things, been cheated on, toxic relationship, all these things. That's the thing. If you're going through something, someone else has gone through it, but they've also overcome it. And that those are just more things you become aware of as you continue the journey. That's where, you know, I say the inner alignment and peace that comes from like vibrating highly. That it's very important, because you still operate, you know, if you're in debt, you're gonna make the right, you know, you're gonna work more, spend less, so that you can get to your goal twice as fast. But you have this inner peace knowing that everything's gonna be okay. And it's not being delusional. It's a little hard to explain. You have this like barrier. If anyone's seen like Dragon Ball Z, you know Broly, how he has like that ability to like absorb ki blast, that little bear around him. That's essentially what spirituality is. When you start to really get aligned and kind of start seeing and learning about this stuff, when you get to that certain level of self improvement, you just have this barrier where you're just unfazed by things. Like you'll go through something. You know, I had to cut some people off recently, and I'm good. It's like a weekend. Like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you learn from it. Boom, you move on. You don't sit about it. You don't cry about it. You know, because I always go back to the job's not finished. You know, you still got to get lean. Still got to get this money. Take care of the family. Do all these things, and boom, you lock right back in. You don't cry. You don't cope, because you know you made the right decision. The universe is setting you up. It's setting you up, because when you say certain things, you're gonna get tested every day. But when you start saying no more and more, you know, take today. You know, my boss ordered some food, Goy Slops, Panda Express. I'm like, I'm not eating that shit. And then my coworker's like, "Oh, I want to go out, get some drinks." I'm like, "Nah, I'm so good," because I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." That's gonna strain me further from the mission. Now's not the time for that. In the future, sure, but now, absolutely not. You start saying no to everything. Oh, you want to go out? Nah, I can't. Why? I'm busy. You know, I got plans. You don't have to tell them, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I gotta wake up early so I can work out. And after my workout, I gotta, you know, hit my protein goal, get my steps in. Boom. That's way more important than a day of pleasure. Fuck that. It's pointless. So you're gonna say no every time, and as you start doing it more and more, it gets even easier. You know, I get offered some candy. I get offered candy constantly at work. I'm like, no, I'm good. Thanks. So I appreciate it, but I'm good, because I always fast at work. I don't need, because I just have two large meals. But I'm saying no every time. I'm not, and that's another thing too. See, here's how you know. Here's how you know you're starting to take this shit serious. When you go grocery shopping and it takes you 5 minutes. I'll go to Aldi. I'm literally only buying ground beef and some fruits. That's it. I'm out there in 2 minutes, easily 2 minutes. I'll go to Aldi, Farmers Market, and then Sprouts. You know, to get some yogurt bowls and maybe some fruits or other things, depending on what I need. But that's it. Shopping is so easy when you eat primarily for fuel and not for taste. Because if you're eating for taste, you're gonna want all these things. You're gonna want the protein cookie, all this other nonsense and bullshit. But you don't need that stuff. Just eat food first, primary purpose, which is fuel. It's to fuel your body. As long as you're eating for that, you're not gonna need food variety. Ground beef, eggs, some fish, maybe tuna, organs or whatever protein sources you like. That's gonna be enough. That and some fruits, some veggies. Boom, you're gonna be good. That's it. You don't need much else. And that's another thing too. See, it kind of makes sense because we're innately lazy by nature, right? Humans. So you want to make things as efficient and easy as possible. See, the reason I honestly eat the way I do now is because, yeah, innately, I'm very lazy. I don't want to think about food. So it's just easier to eat eggs and ground beef daily because now I'm to think about. It's one less thing to think about. I can worry about other things, but I don't have to think about food. And food's the most important thing too. So when you don't have to worry about the most important thing, because your meals are basically all my meals. The way I eat now, essentially, all my meals are planned out for the rest of the year. It's gonna be eggs or either beef in the morning, and then the same thing in the evening with some rice, some milk, fruit. It's already planned. My meals are basically planned for the rest of the year, and that's liberating knowing. Okay, yeah, I don't have to think about what I eat now. The only thing is to just track, and because I eat the same foods, I just have to measure out a few things just to make sure I'm still in a deficit. But it's very easy. But I can't imagine eating for variety. And you gotta weigh out the foods because you're eating so much different things. You gotta weigh out each. I'm like, the fuck all that. I'm too lazy to do that. It's just easier to eat the same foods. If I always eat a pound of beef a day, I know exactly how much calories that is. It's 680 calories, and it's like 80 something grams of protein, like 88, I think. Yeah, because I eat the same things. Boom, that number is it's just locked in. But I'm telling you, and these are subtle signs you're on the right path. Because remember, you're gonna get pulled back. Your friends too, they're gonna want you to be the old self. They're gonna want to seek pleasure, especially if they're younger. So if you're a little older, it's very important. You have to stay the course. You gotta say no. You want to go out and get some fuck Chick-fil-A? Nah, I'm good. I don't want to eat foods with 40 ingredients. If you want something sweet, I'm gonna put you guys on game. If you go to Sprouts, you can get I think Haagen Dazs, that's good ice cream too. But Sprouts, they have this ice cream called Ice Cream for Bears. You want something sweet? That's their cheat meal. Boom, just eat that. Or some like dark chocolate, with like 2, 3 ingredients. Boom, there you go. That's all. That's all you need. But when you get so rewarded for eating healthy, you don't even need to do that very often. And it's simpler too. That's why you gotta stay locked in. But yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Stay locked in. Get your protein, go get your steps in. Let's all get muscular, jacked, and lean together. To the next one. Stay locked.